Hey everyone, welcome to Walks with Holly. In case you're joining me for the first time, I am Holly and I am a housewife and mom of 4 kids. I am also a homeschooling mom. And I have been working on a homeschooling series that if you haven't checked out the previous videos, please go and check them out. But I am here alongside with my mom, who is a veteran homeschooling mom, as well as a retired school teacher. And we are just covering all kinds of commonly asked questions that people have when they start homeschooling, as well as just all kinds of subjects when it comes to homeschooling in general. So today we are going to talk about what a typical day looks like for homeschooling, as well as how do you teach children of different ages, and what do you do with the toddlers? What do you do with the little ones? So first I'm going to have my mom talk about how she kind of did her homeschooling schedule and juggled her days, and then I'll talk about what we do currently. All right.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say there is no such thing as a typical day. Sorry. But we'll just kind of give you a thumbnail sketch of what it looks like. Okay, for me, I had 3 children, and at one point I did have a toddler when I first began, so I had to treat her a little differently than the other 2. But typically, we would all come into the living room at 8 o'clock sharp, and I didn't care what condition they were in. If they were just falling out of bed and they were in their jammies, I wanted them to know we're getting started, and we're getting started with the Word of God, and that we had our usual top three, Bible reading, memorization of scripture from Awana, and then our just a story. It might be Pilgrim's Progress, or it might be Little House on the Prairie, something that really piques their interest. And as soon as that's done, and that might take about a half an hour, and then we would go into the kitchen and start preparing breakfast. Now, one of the cool things about homeschooling, and as I told my kids when I said, I'm going to be homeschooling you, and they were going into 4th grade and 2nd grade at that time, and I said, I'm not going to have time to do all this housework and cooking. You're going to have to learn how to do it. So I had to train them in all kinds of jobs. And so first thing is they had to make their own breakfast, and it wasn't just cereal. Believe me, these kids got pretty into it, making pancakes, making scrambled eggs, and they got to be pretty good at cooking meals. And of course they had to clean up the meal and be ready for schooling. And once they did that, we were at the table working on subjects. Now, once again, working with kids at different ages, there are some subjects you can kind of combine. You could maybe do a history lesson, a science lesson. Those could be combined, but then they might have their own math book. They might have their own reading book, whatever subject they're working on. They're going to have that individually. So I might be helping one child, while my other child is working independently. And they do need to know that, mom's not going to be there to help them along. It wouldn't be that way in school. They wouldn't be getting one-on-one all the time. So just the fact that they get one-on-one for a little bit of time is amazing, because when you look at the statistics in a public school, a child never gets more than 5 minutes a day of true one-on-one teaching. So we're giving them a half an hour. They're getting far more than they are in the public school, so don't feel guilty about that. So then, at the meantime, the toddler might be having their own activity. So they might have certain toy they are allowed to play with during that time, or maybe you might even have one child I'd be working with them, and the other child would be entertaining the preschooler. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. I'm sure Holly's got even more ideas, since she's really had to deal with having preschoolers involved in her homeschooling. But the point is that by noon, we wanted to be done, because that's when their creative time in the afternoon began. And that would be crafts, it would be sports, it would be going outside, it would be just all kinds of fun activities. And so then we would be done at noon, and of course the books were put away, and they would start lunch in the kitchen. Now they usually have chores to do, and that was a big part of homeschooling. And you get all kinds of ways to do that. And I actually changed it up about once a month. I think I changed it up, because once it was drawing things out of a jar. What's your job today? Or it might be a chart. You have to complete this chart. My daughter-in-law, she uses a system where she gives money. She has this play money, and they get paid. For example, if I was over there babysitting and they would say, okay, I have to clean the kitchen, and I said, well, how much do you get paid? Well, 15 credits. They called them credits. And he says, and if I don't do a good job, I only get 8 credits. And so I would check it, and I go, you know, you missed this spot. He goes, okay, and he fixes it. And he has to have a good attitude, because that's part of the payment too. If you don't have a good attitude, you don't get paid. So, and what did they do with those credits? Well, that's how they got their device time. I didn't have to worry about that in my time, because we didn't have devices. But that's how they paid for their device. They're only allowed 15 minutes a day on a device, and they have to pay for it, and they have to turn on the timer themselves. So just to kind of give you an idea of a more modern aspect than mine. Mm-hmm. So mine was they had to get all their chores done, and however system we had a reward system, stickers, the whole deal. Yes. It was always different, and I tried to keep it fresh. But once that's all done, the creativity began, and we got involved in a lot of things, like how many kids enter. I don't know, Holly, you must have entered 20 things in the county fair, different crafts and things she did. I taught them how to sew. We did cooking. We did baking, and oh my goodness, so many things.
A lot of home economics.
Yeah, a lot of home economics. And my husband was out there working with my son, teaching him about tools, and side by side working with him. He started working in our family business when he was like 13. Sweeping the floor and learning what it's like to be an adult. So there's so much more to learn in the afternoon. That's the great thing about homeschooling, is that it doesn't take all day, and you don't need it to take all day.
And it's definitely not the same with school hours, because we think that we have to have 8 hours of school a day, because the public school has 8 hours of school a day. And yes, we typically have about 3 hours a day of school, maybe 4, I don't know, but it's typically, for us, it's about 9 to noon, and maybe we go over some days, but that is a good amount of time for us to get our core subjects
done. Your kids
go
to the library a lot too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they get books on history, and they just load down. I took them to the library, 22 books she picked out. And she reads them all.
Okay, well, as far as my schedule with my kids right now is it's pretty similar to what I grew up doing, being homeschooled myself. We start our devotions every morning before breakfast. Like I said, we are still in our pajamas sometimes doing the devotions, but then I have all my kids get dressed, and then we come down to the kitchen. We have our breakfast, and as soon as breakfast is done and cleaned up, then we just get started with different subjects. And also, my older kids that are going into 3rd and 4th grade right now, they are able to do a lot of subjects on their own. So sometimes they will get up earlier before me. Actually, most mornings they do.
Right.
They come down to the kitchen, get a dry bowl of cereal, and they just sit there, munch on their cereal, and they work on their math or their reading comprehension or their journals. They will do certain subjects on their own that they know they can do on their own, and they know that if the earlier they start, the sooner they're going to be done, and they get to have
a great life lesson
playtime. So, if your child is old enough to read, they should be able to do a lot of work on their own, and just motivate them. Say, the sooner you finish this stuff, the sooner you can have the rest of the day off. So, yeah, we basically just dive into whatever school they didn't already do after breakfast. And again, with my 3-year-old, what my mom was saying, maybe we have certain toys that we only pull out during school time that will keep her busy, or else I take turns with my 2 oldest, where they get each, one will take the 3-year-old for 30 minutes and watch her while I work with the other kids, and they'll just rotate that babysitting time, and they enjoy it. It's a good break for them to just not be doing their school and playing with their little siblings. So anyways, that is how we've been dealing with having a toddler who's gonna interrupt now and then. But it's definitely is tricky, especially when you've got like maybe a newborn, things like that. But that's the beauty of homeschooling. You make your own schedule. you know what? You don't have to do schoolwork first thing in the morning. You can do it after lunch if that works better for your family. But we have found in our family, the morning is the best time. That is the time when our brain is the freshest and we are more motivated to do it. It gets harder for us after lunch. Anyways, that's about all we have here, and I appreciate you watching this video, and I hope that it was helpful. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel. We have a lot more homeschooling topics we plan to address. We have a lot of common questions we've been asked that we want to talk about. And if you have any questions, if you are a new homeschooling parent or currently homeschooling now and you have any questions, please put your question in the comment below and we will answer them for sure as best we can. But again, I appreciate you watching my video and my series, and I hope to see you next time on Walks with Holly.